to Out of the Fog. I'm your host, Melissa Royle Critch. Tonight we hear from Louise Moyes and Gabriel Moyes-Vaandering, two of the voices behind the petition concerning the Atlantic Place parking garage hotel development. Then we hear from Katrina Gibbons and Ledon Wellon, both of whom have become vocal advocates online for the accessibility of fertility treatments in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we'll talk about the effects of not having those treatments available right now during the time of COVID-19. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with those guests.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Hi, I'm Melissa Royle Critch, host of Wednesday nights on Out of the Fog on Rogers TV. Every week we chat with political, business, and community leaders about things going on right here in our city. So tune in at 7:30 or again at 9 o'clock on Wednesdays on Out of the Fog.
This is Rogers TV. Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. I'm Melissa Royle Critch. I'm here with Louise Moyes and Gabriel Moyes-Vaandering, two of the voices behind the petition regarding the Atlantic Place parking garage hotel, I guess we'll call it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So Louise, we'll start with you. This petition that has surfaced and gained traction quite quickly, I guess, where did the idea come from, and why was it so important to start a petition on this issue?
Well, Melissa, last week on Tuesday, I saw a post about a hotel in Athens, actually, where the people of Athens had taken a hotel to court, and the highest court in the land ordered the hotel to take the top 3 floors off because it had blocked the view of the parking lot. And somebody posted this saying, this is a very timely post today because they just had the latest vote on our hotel project here. And we went, what? Oh, well, we had missed it. And so we had been involved in the process to date, been writing letters, went to the public consultation in March, and we were looking out for the report, didn't see it. And we figured because of Snowmageddon and now COVID, it would be delayed. And then we heard the vote had happened. So thus we thought, let's start a petition to try to get more, start a petition to try to get more notice around this.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think there's a bit of a lag sometimes. And Gabriel, what's your thoughts on it? Why, why were you eager to add your name to the petition?
Well, I mean, downtown is what we want, tourists to come look at with our historic views. And I find when you build these 12-story hotels, it blocks those views, which renders part of it pointless. A lot of the stuff that we are advertising to people from outside the province. And like buildings like the old telephone building, Atlantic Place, Scotiabank, they're building a wall there, These huge buildings are slowly expanding out farther and farther till, sadly, maybe one day it'll go all the way along Water Street and we won't really be able to have a view anymore of the harbor.
And Louise, other than the view from the center of city or the kind of upper downtown levels that Gabriel's describing, what are some of the other concerns that people are voicing as opposing this construction project?
Sure. Well, one thing is that the developers themselves didn't show any other views of the hotel except from right next to the street level or from way on high in the room. So you couldn't get any perspective. This is why we are asking people to post photos, #Atlantic Place Hotel blocks views, because they didn't give it actually the full picture from 360 around the city or 180. And then another thing that people are opposing is the overhang, the air rights that they're going to ask for. Now that hasn't been actually approved by city yet, but the mayor on May 11th in the Telegram after the last vote said that it was pretty much a given they were going to get the air rights, but that hasn't actually been voted on. A lot of your viewers might not even know, what does it mean, have the air rights? But part of the construction will go over the sidewalk in Cliff, it's hard to say, Cliff's Bear Cove, which is the most beautiful cove in downtown. It's the widest one. It was built historically to be the widest one, so that when ships came into St. John's, they could look from the harbor up to the courthouse and the Anglican Cathedral and the Basilica. That is the ecclesiastical district, which is looking to get UNESCO funding as well for accreditation. And then that will be blocked. But if you sell the air rights, you are giving away so much. We're giving away more than we can imagine. And many are saying that then every developer in every cove downtown is going to want their buildings to have air rights to push out into the coves. So we're losing views, we're losing sunlight, we're losing so much.
And you're going back to the wall concept that Gabriel was describing.
Yes, well, it's right now when you look, there is a wall, and I'll send you a photograph so you can see it, because it's kind of crept up on us, even though we have a magnificent view from our house. The telephone building, they built 3 floors on top of that. We used to be able to watch ships go between, remember, Scotiabank and Atlantic Place? You kind of glimpse them and they disappear. Well, that disappeared. And then what's it called, that one?
Colorful one.
The Star of the Sea. That pokes out beyond Scotiabank quite a bit. Right. But then if the air rights, that's more also on the street level, and we'll be looking down every cove and it'll all be blocked. And, you know,
another issue with the petition and the opposition that's now arising to this project is the concern that maybe it's too late. So what do you say to the council members and to, I guess, presumably the proponents of the construction project, that, you know, it went through the city process, right? There were public consultations. You know, people did submit letters. Council had the opportunity to discuss and decide this. And in fact, came down on both sides. We had, you know, a very, very close, almost half and half, with the, you know, councillors deciding for and against it, with the 4 coming out just ahead. So, you know, given that it went through the proper process that a project of that scope and that manner should go through, you know, why is the petition only coming out now, and is it going to have any ability to make an effect?
Excellent question. I mean, yes, it did go through the proper process in ways, but there are many other lenses on this process, this particular one. One is that there was a lot of media around it in September, the early fall 2018. And then if you look, there was a year gap between articles in the Telegram and TV and different media. And we've had quite a 5 months in St. John's, right? So there was a vote in December. Some of the media around that was December 12th. There's one December 24th, Christmas Eve. And then January 1st, New Year's Day. And there was another vote on January 27th. That was 2 days after the state of emergency finished. And then there was press around that for a couple of days. But people were still catching their breath. Right. And then March, the hearing, we were at the hearing. There was not one city councillor at the hearing, so no way to talk with them in person at that event. And that was March 12th. And then 6 days later, we were all in lockdown. So, and right now, council meets online like everybody else is. We don't have access to them. They don't have access to their staff. We're just asking them, these are exceptional circumstances. Clearly, we feel that 5,280 votes in a week is saying that your constituents don't feel they were aware enough of the project either. So can we please just slow down the process and have a bigger dialogue? Because people are feeling very strongly, this has come up many times in our city, that this project is an opportunity to really have a full dialogue with our youth, with our community groups, our heritage groups, citizens and council. Where are we going? Our harbor is our crown jewel. Let's not give it away.
And Gabriel, speaking of youth, you're hopefully going to be around to enjoy the harbor and the city of St. John's after the rest of us. So, what's your message to people in your generation who may not yet be engaged in civic issues as you are?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that this is something that a lot of people at my age wouldn't, just like, who cares? Let the older people take care of it. But I mean, this is, in a way, this regards us more than, people in their 70s and 80s. Because, I mean, some of us may be around here for another 60, 70 years, which is a long time. And, we all have beautiful views downtown. And we all need to, get our own voices and, say that this is not okay, because if you still want to live downtown with a beautiful view, well, then this is really the time.
And visit downtown. So many people come to visit, Newfoundlanders, people from St. John's, and people from away. And people come here to see what we have. And what we have, as you said in the beginning, what we advertise, what we are recognized for, is that we are the oldest city in North America with incredible architecture and nature. So we're not saying no to urban design, but let's do it in scale and in context.
So if anyone's interested in checking out the petition or adding their names to it, how can they find it?
They can find it on change.org. And if they just Google Atlantic Place and change.org, they'll find it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your concerns and for chatting about your vision of the city, especially you, Gabriel. Much appreciated your perspective. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on Out of the Fog.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, girls.
Mom, you said it's played again.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick. What makes the job tough is the moment you realize a customer has had enough, and you have to make that decision not to overserve. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law. We know it's not easy, but we're counting on you to keep us all safe. Thank you, servers, for doing the tough job.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. I'm Melissa Royle Critch. I'm here with Katrina Gibbons and Ledon Wellon, two advocates for accessibility of fertility treatments here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Ledon, your post on social media, actually I guess posts, there's been a couple now, have really, gone viral here, garnered a lot of attention and resonated with a lot of people about issues facing families looking at fertility treatment in this COVID era. So what caused you to make your story public and to advocate for increased access right now?
I started going public with my story around a year ago after my first miscarriage. It had taken me 2.5 years at that point to get pregnant, and then I lost it at nearly 10 weeks. And I just couldn't handle the negative things that people were saying. I had worked so hard to get pregnant, and then to deal with all of society's you're not supposed to talk about that, where I wanted to celebrate it, and then all of a sudden I lost it. So I really wanted to just bring to light that there's so many people going through it and we're not able to talk about it. And then that just kind of evolved into my next step was IVF, and I didn't have access to it, and I don't think that's okay. So I really wanted to let people know that you don't just go to a clinic for a few hours and then come out with a baby. It's a long and expensive process that Newfoundlanders just don't have the access to.
And Katrina, for anybody who is not familiar with this process, and seeing the response to Ledon's post, it seems there's a lot of people very familiar with this process. if a family has decided to go the route of fertility treatments, I mean, what does that road look like?
So first off, Ledon, I would like to thank you, for being so brave and sharing your story. To those around me, I've always remained super open about, my journey, and I haven't really taken to social media. I found it very difficult to even make a post. I found myself, making posts, deleting them, making posts, deleting them, and I couldn't help but share your post. I was just something clicked in me, and I really want to appreciate that. I know it took a lot. I know it takes a lot. I have since shared a post and made my own, and the support that has flown in from that is just astronomical. The amount of individuals that were too afraid actually to even share or like it wrote me privately, and I'm sure you've experienced that as well, has just been overwhelming, in a good way. But the process, I mean, again, choosing, fertility treatment is not really how it happens. No one chooses this route, and the words that sometimes get used as, this is an elective, procedure is hurtful, because it isn't elective. No one has this choice. So you don't have this choice. It's just something that happens to you. And everyone's situation is very different, circumstantial. And unless you've gone through it, I don't think you can really appreciate the levels and the complexities that surround the treatments. If a family is going through this, whether that's, a couple, yourself, an individual, whatever your family planning situation looks like, when you're going through this, I mean, it's a very lengthy process. I mean, they are saying that, for an average couple that has, prospect to conceive would be at least a year, and that's before you get a referral into a fertility clinic. From there are many, testings that have to happen to you and your partner, or from there, then there's, IUI cycles. If they're failed, then you wait to get a referral to an IVF cycle. And all of these cycles are a roller coaster of emotions, and they are time consuming. There's so many ultrasounds and blood work and redoing the blood work. And if everything doesn't line up perfectly, there's a lot of letdown and heartache in that cycle. There's a lot of needles that you have to self-administer to yourself, which is a terrifying process for someone who, doesn't like needles herself. After now, it's like, yep, it seems normal. It normalizes something that, like you said, in the public is really not normalized. I mean, the conversation isn't out there.
And so with the shutdown of, essentially all, and I don't want to say the word elective or urgent, because, I certainly understand your point, but we'll say with the shutdown of so many medical procedures in the province right now, what does it mean for families who are going through fertility process to have those procedures not available right now? Katrina?
I mean, I think that we could both speak to this. And Ledon, I mean, I know that you're dealing with a clinic out in Calgary. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dealing with the clinic in Halifax. With the shutdown, it means so many things. There's travel restrictions that have to be taken into consideration right now, which affects potential isolation times on either end. Not being able to have treatments here for baseline ultrasounds and things that you need to be able to go when these clinics are opening. I mean, for me personally, it's hard to understand why our clinic isn't opening, and other clinics are. And I guess Ledon can elaborate on that too.
Yeah, I actually went for my first round of IVF on March 4th. So it was like just before things started to happen. So I was kind of in the midst of everything in Calgary. They had so many precautions. They had, we had to sign papers on the way in, just like stating that we've had like no symptoms, we haven't traveled, we were as healthy as we knew we could be. They had as much precautions as you could. And they did have to shut down, but they opened back up on May 4th, and they've opened back up with so many other precautions. And I just don't understand why, like, almost everywhere else in Canada can open back up, or at least have a date. I know that Halifax is opening June 1st. It's just the uncertainty, because everything in this journey is like so uncertain anyway, that having one more level of uncertainty, like not knowing when we can go back, is just, it's a roller coaster of emotions regardless. And this is just, it's hurtful just knowing that like they haven't even bothered to make a decision on when we can start up again.
Yeah, we were, likewise, we were in a cycle in Halifax for our first IVF was in November of 2019, and our second frozen embryo transfer, or first frozen embryo transfer, but our second round was in March, and we were in Halifax, the weekend of March 14th is when we flew up. And to deal with that loss of a no under the quarantine, under the isolation has been very difficult. I did take avail myself of the for women's health psychologist that they referred me to at the clinic here for the first time. She's a really nice lady that I've been dealing with, but there's certain things that also came to my mind through those discussions with her is that, they weren't aware of certain aspects of this whole journey. She's not aware of it, not going through it, didn't know when Infertility Awareness Week was. There's so many different aspects that are really just not being paid attention to or spoken about. And I understand, even from the messages I've received, that it's a private journey for some, and it's very difficult, to add that public pressure on top of what you already have as a personal pressure to your life, that you don't want to talk about it. And right now, I really feel that the government and other individuals who could probably speak a little bit louder, a little bit easier about this topic are just not taking those actions and are not moving forward with things.
Yeah, and what does it mean to see, I guess, other provinces open up these type of treatments and Newfoundland and Labrador, I guess, so far not following suit? Has there been any response from the government or the clinic or anyone you've reached out to about that? Either of you? Sorry.
I've heard that the doctors don't even know when they're allowed to open. They haven't. That's all I've heard. Obviously, I haven't talked to them personally because it's not open. But some people who've had prenatal appointments, they're still able to see them, and that I've heard from some of them that they still have no idea when they're able to help us.
Yeah, likewise, I've asked the questions. I continue to touch base, with my clinic in Halifax and, with the women's health therapist that I speak to right now about these things, and they have no information, no knowledge. And I'm not certain, if either of you have listened to the briefing today, but on the briefing today, Minister Haggie was asked in general about less urgent is the way it was phrased, less urgent increasing of services, of medical services. And the comment that was made and then reinforced later when was asked specifically about infertility is that the assessment, I just want to get this right, I'm sorry to look at my notes. The assessment of determining a priority is a clinical one. And those are those that were used. And there was an encouragement by him to go back to your clinic, as your clinic would be the one to determine what is a priority and what isn't.
But the clinic's not open right now?
They're technically open. Okay. They're not open to this type of services. They have limited services, but there are services that are happening. And our fertility clinic here is in St. John's, is at the Maple Path Clinic. So it's entirely outside of, say, the hospital, the hospitals here. And what I found, Tibby, it seemed as if it put that back on the clinics when the clinics are saying we have no information, we have no guidelines. And there was a lot of discussion, and there has always been a lot of discussion about capacity in PPE. And capacity, for beds and that, and I know that everyone's journey is different, and that requires, maybe there are some, families that do require, an extended stay or other services before they can continue. But, there are very routine, I say routine loosely because again, I feel like it's a routine. When you get into it, it feels quite routine. There are so many services that they could be offering that don't require the beds, would never require that. Those types of services are usually, done within a 20-minute period. They're in and out. And PPE, the clinic has always had PPE, and I understand it might be stretched right now, or the requirement for more, but I'm really hopeful that this whole, consideration will go back and they will reconsider, the comments that have been made thus far.
And just to clarify, I guess, if I'm hearing that the procedures have to be done, or some of the procedures actually have to be done out of province anyway, just again to set the record straight, it's not that people from here could just go away and skip the portion that would be operating here, right? You'd still require the treatments here?
I actually skipped the portions here to go to Calgary, which is another issue with our fertility clinic. They're not open on weekends. And it's not like you can start your period on a certain day of the week if you want to. I needed to be there on a Sunday for my IVF treatment, and I couldn't go in for the ultrasound. So I've had friends who've gone in on the wrong day, and then their cycle have been canceled based on the inaccuracy of days based on their ultrasounds. So I actually chose to go to Calgary for the whole month to be able to actually get the proper care that I needed, which ended up being over 3 full weeks out of province, which shouldn't be necessary.
No. Well, thank you so much for coming on our show, and thanks for your advocacy on this really important topic. You're both very, I think, brave and admirable for sharing your stories and for, making it more comfortable for other families to share their story and to speak out about this as well. So thank you so much, and hopefully you're seeking some comfort and reassurance in, how much your comments have resonated online in our community.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And thanks for watching Out of the Fog. We'll see you next time on Rogers TV.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy DC, and I am the Thursday night host of St. John's local tradition, Out of the Fog.